They say confession is good for the soul, so let's get the party started. Always reveal to the general public if you're an alleged journalist, you're supposed to be impartial, and you've coughed up $75,000 to the foundation owned and operated by a major party candidate for president. If you author a book detailing what you claim are improprieties by said candidate and said foundation, make certain you have your facts correct before the book is published and before it has to be corrected online. And if you're a real man, stop whining when Mad Max partners with a hard-knuckled woman in the Australian desert fighting the apocalypse. After all, it's Charlize Theron. I'm Ed Berliner. Here's something else good for the soul. This is Hardline for Friday, May 15th, 2015.
At this time, I can confirm that we have located the wreckage of the UH-1 Yankee Huey helicopter that's been missing since Tuesday, the 12th of May. Because of the nature of the wreckage, it is unlikely that there are any survivors at this time.
Here in Malaysia have been pushing boats full of vulnerable migrants back out to sea, which will inevitably lead to many avoidable deaths.
To all the families who are here today, whose loved ones did not come home at the end of a shift, please know how deeply sorry we are for the loss that you've endured. Know how deeply grateful we are for your loved one's sacrifice. We hold them up as heroes because that's what they are. It takes a special kind of courage to be a peace officer.
We were trying to get to Ramadi. Instead, we came across shell-shocked families ISIS had just assaulted in the morning from the east. As a security measure, cars are not allowed to cross this bridge. But this is the only way to reach Baghdad. Those fleeing the violence pile their belongings, children and elderly, into metal carts.
ISIS is on the move again. This time they are on the offensive in the Iraqi city of Ramadi and, according to some reports, have seized the government headquarters. They're closing in on the capture and likely destruction of more historical sites. Their leader is back with more messages of hate and murder. All this, as an Iraqi-born naturalized citizen of the United States, is the latest to be arrested after pledging allegiance to the butcher and his band of killers. It leads to one inescapable conclusion about ISIS in America. A pleasure to welcome back Professor of Middle East Studies at Florida Atlantic University in Boca Raton, Florida, author of the fascinating in-depth study, Salafism in Lebanon, From Apoliticism to Transnational Jihadism. Professor Robert Rabil joins us. Professor,
thank you, Ed.
Always a pleasure to see you, my friend.
It's my pleasure, Ed.
We have to stop kidding ourselves at this point, and we have to start facing facts. There is no way for us in America right now to prevent, to stop, to even slow down radicalization. Is it not fair to say that we just don't know how to do it?
Well, it's a million-dollar question. As a matter of fact, it's a $500 million question. I think that with cooperation with certain allies, understanding the ideology of Salafism and its different various branches, and creating some kind of a better alliances around the world, we can do something to curb the power of radical Islam. But we cannot say that we are going to remove it. It is the job and the mission of the Muslims to go ahead and counterattack and say, listen, this radical ideology does not belong to us. This radical ideology is terrible. It has proven catastrophic to our Muslim ummah or to our Muslim nation of believers, and you should not go that route. This is what I believe should be done. We should support, we should act in a supporting role to counterattack ideologically, but also we should work with moderate Muslims, we should work with government, we should work with institutions, we should work with religious scholars, and push them, nudge them, as a matter of fact, to go ahead and counterattack ideologically this fanatical extremism that is represented by ISIS and by Al-Qaeda and other Salafi jihadi.
I want to get to that exactly what you said. Let me bring it back to America here, because we are always telling ourselves that we have this gentleman arrested in Texas. We have others that we are finding who pledge allegiance to ISIS. Yet we hear politicians and people say, well, we need to do everything we can to stop radicalizing them. We need to do something about the internet. We need to work with communities here. We don't know how to do it. I mean, right here in America, it seems as if we simply don't have the key yet. So we have to start working from the other side instead of working on this side. It doesn't work.
But this is how I look at it. I look at it when you have to compare how we are doing in comparison and in contrast to what Europeans are doing. And we are we are doing very well. As a matter of fact, how many Americans went to fight alongside ISIS? I would say a little bit over 100. In Europe, you have thousands. And let's not forget, the community of Muslims here in the United States is over now 7 million people. So if you have 100, it's a very small number. Now, having said that, I am not underestimating the fact that still you have radicalization going here under our roof in the United States, and that's extremely dangerous. What we can do, yes, you mentioned some of it, really to pursue some kind of a diligent approach toward those who are active in the missionary activity, mainly to bring people to the fold of Islam.
But isn't
and this is where you have many people who are disenfranchised. They feel disenfranchised, or dejected, or depressed, or psychopath.
And those are the ones
and
maybe
they are
that
the
we
one
can't
become
do anything
prey.
with.
Well, what you can do
There's an
is
old saying, you can't argue with a sick mind. Okay.
yeah, but you can argue with the one who's taking care of the sick mind.
Which we don't do enough of.
Well,
right?
probably
then
we
you're
need to do a better job about it.
And you're still talking about the Muslims here in America,
Muslims
though.
here in the United
and this
States.
is something that they need to do. What are they so afraid of in order to step out, get out in front of the cameras and say, do something about it?
All right. There is here certain views about, and sometimes I hear it a lot, well, the Muslims, they are not doing enough. Their voice is not loud. I agree to a great part with that, but also you have Muslims. They are giving tips to the FBI. Let's not forget how many catastrophic events have happened here. Thank you, God. So mainly when I look at it, and given the security system, the overall complex security system that United States has, I will say, you know something, certain Muslims, they are indeed cooperating with our security officials, and this is a blessing. Why? Because we have foiled and prevented many attempts that we don't hear about them all. So you have some that work. Now, the other, here you have different excuses or different...
excuses, there's the word.
Different factors why. No one would like to be under the spotlight. Muslim or non-Muslim, and especially Muslim. If you want to put the spotlight, he's going to be mainly, you know something, I want to recede. I don't like the spotlight. And other, as a matter of fact, and I do agree here, they feel that indeed somehow the West has really been unfair to the Muslims.
Well, which they have in many ways. Let's be honest.
I am, but that doesn't mean I support violence. But this is my take now. My take is that they have a misunderstanding of United States and United States foreign policy and the ideology of Salafi jihadism and the ideology of radical Islam, that they need to work to know about it. And this is when they know about it.
Well, they don't do enough.
Well, they don't do enough, exactly.
Okay.
And this is when they understand it. They will understand the malicious, nefarious effect of this ideology. It takes them, or it takes the simple-minded within their Muslim community, you know, to far out places in Iraq and Syria. And this is extremely terrible, extremely terrible. So yes, we have a long way. It's 1,000 miles. It's not, we are not in China, we are in the United States, but we have a 1,000-mile march. And that 1,000-mile march, it's a starting. And we better go faster than before and more smarter than before.
I think what you just said, though, I only got 30 seconds left, but you said smarter.
Yes.
Isn't that what we're always missing? Whether it comes from the Muslim side to fight or whether it comes from our side to fight, we don't fight smart.
Well, I go along with it. And also what I mean is that you have a lot of partisan politics. You have a lot of political, you know, what they call incorrectness. We have a lot of things in our society that some of us, I'm talking about American people, they feel, you know, a little bit squeamish about it, a little bit, you know, they won't say, okay, I'm not going to be involved. And this is why, you know, I mentioned the government is a representative of us. And this is how we need to work. One hand does not clap by itself. You need two hands to clap together.
And stop being squeamish.
And exactly.
Stop being squeamish. That's what it is. I want to remind
Okay.
everybody,
All right.
if you want an opportunity to learn more about what the doctor and I talk about here, the book is Salafism in Lebanon. It is a very, very in-depth book. It is brilliant to learn much more about what is happening around the world. Professor,
thank you.
always
Thank
a
you.
pleasure to
Thank
have you on the
Ed.
show.
It's
Come
my
back
pleasure.
anytime. Good travels
It's
as well.
my pleasure.
Stay
It's
with
my
us. This
pleasure.
is the fastest 60 minutes in news. The Hardline continues.